Quebec, Canada, fighting Troy the Destroyer Dorsey, 12 rounds for the World Super Lightweight Championship.
What are you going to do now as far as kickboxing?
First, I want to thank God, say hello to my wife, Shelly and Kendra. Happy birthday, Shane. And thank all of my instructors and students at my school. Now, pick up kickboxing and boxing both again and go out there a world title.
Congratulations.
Okay, thank you. All right.
The winner and still Hurricane World Super Lightweight Champion of the world, Troy the Destroyer Dorsey!
What's up, Destroyers? I am your host, Bryce George, and we are back with episode 6 of If the Gloves Could Talk. We've got some fun content lined up for today. Troy is yet again on the loose, and I can't find him anywhere. It is just me today, but hopefully that's okay. The rest of the content we have lined up will have Mr. Dorsey included in it, so you will definitely get to see him a lot in today's episode. So to dive in, this is our first episode in the new year. Happy 2024. There's just so many exciting things that are going to be happening with our show this year. And to be quite honest with you, I don't even know what half of them are yet, but that's a fun part. We're going to figure that out together. And just know that you guys, your input is very important to me, and I know Troy for sure as well. And if you have any comments or suggestions of how we can improve the show or something you'd like to see, let us know. Don't be shy to comment down below, because we are always trying to make this show better for you guys. In case you caught that, when I open up the show, the Destroyers, that is what we are calling our viewers because that was Troy's ring name, the Destroyer. So I just thought it was only right to call you guys the Destroyers. So welcome. Our first segment we'll be going into is a blast from the past, and this episode will be from November 22nd, 2022. So I'm assuming that was right before Thanksgiving of 2022, but I'll be talking with Troy about Thanksgiving, the memories he had of that, the importance of family to Troy. His family's very, very a big part of his life. So we get to talk about that, get to see some pictures of the grandbabies, and learn more about his Thanksgiving traditions. So we're going to dive right into our Blast from the Past segment, and when we come back, we will talk more for our interview later in the show. So I have the background up like that because I wanted us to talk about Thanksgiving and the holidays, and this is is this your second Thanksgiving with your grandbabies?
It is.
Yeah, and you know, I know family's very big for you, and I just kind of wanted to talk about, you tell me what Thanksgiving was like for you growing up.
Well, I remember Thanksgiving at my dad's parents' house, and they lived a long life together. I guess they were married for maybe 70 years when they passed away. But I can remember great times there at their house, meeting my cousins and my uncle and his wife, and Andrea and Debbie, my cousins. And I was at my grandparents' house. It was just always so fun to go eat. And of course, when you're kids, you want to eat dessert first. So we get in trouble every year for trying to eat dessert first. But it was a great time to remember.
So it was a time you enjoyed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm so fortunate. I know there's so many people that are broke up and so many parents that are broke up, so they don't have what I had. My parents were together. My grandparents, except on my mother's side, were together. That was difficult sometimes, but it was always good to see them. When I say difficult sometimes, of course, when that first happened, when the marriage was off, then that was very difficult. I remember crying, but everybody, it all turned out, and of course that's not the way that the Lord wants it. In the Bible it says that the Lord hates divorce. So that's I'm not trying to say that it's okay. I'm just trying to say that my family, they made it okay, and my parents made sure that we had the happiest time that we could have.
You were always taken care of.
Very thankful. I was always taken care of. I said thankful, taken care of, but I said
close enough.
So yeah, I'm very thankful looking back on that time. So now it's the time to share with my kids. And now we had grandkids last year, June 4th and July 7th they were born. So this year they're walking and talking and really just God's little miracles walking around at our house.
And I think that's important that you still remember what you felt as a child with the holidays, and what was that like then, as you were saying, having your own kids before you even had or even thought of having grandkids. What was that like getting to now be the parent, getting to share that with your own kids, Thanksgiving?
It's just that I can't explain it any more than saying, and I don't want to belittle the word, but it's just a huge blessing is what it is to have those babies, and they're hugging on you and kissing on you and calling you Papa. And my wife Gigi, she's such a great grandmother. She's not a great grandmother. Make sure we get that that she's not a great grandmother. She is a great, as in the way she acts, the way she takes care of our grandkids. She babysits for them all the time, and oftentimes I get to be there when I'm home from work or on the days that I'm off. I get to be there with the kids, but my wife is an amazing Gigi is what she wants to be called. So we're still, there's the babies that are doing that now. That's what they call her. They call her Gigi. It's so cute the way they say it.
They sound really lucky to have you guys and to be as involved as you are with them. Not a lot of kids or grandkids get to experience that. Their grandparents may live in a whole other state and they only get to see them once a year.
Right.
And I can say for a fact, because my grandpa, he just spoiled me to death. I still remember, it still means something to me, all that he did for me. And I'm sure and I hope that, your grandkids feel the same way.
I hope they remember like you remember your grandpa. I hope they remember those things, the good things, and being so good to them, like you remember your grandfather being so good to you. That's great. So, and of course, we're praying that they come to know Jesus as their Lord and Savior. That's the goal.
So, what's the meaning of Thanksgiving to you, Troy? What behind it all? And yes, you said it's a blessing to you, but is it really just a day to eat turkey and have a food coma?
No, it's not. It's not just a day. Just eat turkey, and then because what does it have in turkey that makes you sleep?
Isn't it the dressing?
No, I think it's something else.
There's something in turkey, yeah, that makes you sleepy.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is. But of course, eating probably 7 or 8 pounds worth of food, that doesn't help anything anyway.
No.
Your body gets tired digesting all that food. So that's probably my problem. I'm going to try this year not to necessarily overeat. Not to overeat. Yeah, So I'm just so fortunate for the family that I was raised in. And I'm so fortunate now to have the family that I have. So it's not perfect. You know, there are different things where we may argue, but it's few and far between. Arguments are few and far between. So me and my wife argue over who gets to hold the baby.
Well, I think those are the kind of arguments you hope to have.
Yeah.
Those aren't the bad kind,
No,
you know.
they're not.
My name is Troy Dorsey. We offer martial arts and karate training and fitness kickboxing training. Our karate program is for men, women, and children of all ages. From 4.5, we even have a student that's 91 years old. Also, we teach fitness kickboxing. It's a 1-hour non-contact class of punching and kicking a bag, because hitting a bag is like weightlifting to help strengthen and tone your muscles. Give us a call at 817-477-5523. Come in and see us today and start your martial arts experience with us now.
In honor of our Thanksgiving episode, I just want to first say, you guys, thank you for watching our show and for following. We appreciate all the likes, shares, and comments, and it just is helping us be able to grow and reach out to more people that need to hear the story of Troy Dorsey. We've got an exciting interview coming up, and that is going to be with Mr. Marion Forston. And I'm not going to tell you guys anything about him. I'm going to let it be a bit of a teaser. You're going to have to wait to find out, to learn more about him, but it'll be myself, Troy, and Mr. Marion in that interview that you are about to watch. And I think you're going to find a lot of things out about him. It's going to be a good one. We'll be right back after that interview to talk more for the end of our episode. Welcome back, Destroyers, to If the Gloves Could Talk. I'm your host, Bryce George, and here with me, as always, I have Mr. Dorsey, but I also have a new guest with us today. Marion, how are you doing?
Good, you?
I'm doing well. We are doing even better that you're here in person with us today to talk a little bit of mixed martial arts.
Awesome.
So, Troy, how excited are you for this interview?
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Mr. Forston was a great student, and he worked hard, and he did a great job. And I'm looking forward to talking with him about looking back and reflecting on what he got out of the program.
So it's just great to hear all these testimonials and the success stories of Troy's students from the ages of how young is yours?
We started with 4.
From 4 to your oldest student being 91, right?
Yes.
So just showing how it impacts everyone at every stage of their life is quite amazing, and it sounds like it's definitely impacted your life, Marion. So
Yeah, but just for clarity, I'm not the 91-year-old.
just know that, guys. That was someone completely different. So, but why don't you first tell us a little bit about yourself outside of, being a student of Troy's? What was your career? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. Well, career-wise, I was in the trucking business. And when I left that, I started 2 different businesses. I started one that was in business for 7 years, but before I got out of it, I'd started a second business. And I was in that second business up until September of this past year. My son and I were in business together, and we sold the business in September.
What'd y'all do?
Congrats.
We did roll-off dumpsters for construction, remodeling,
Okay.
cleanups, and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Is your son still in that line of work?
He's still in that line of work. He
Okay.
went to work for the company that bought us out.
Oh, well, congrats to that,
Yeah.
though. So how is retirement treating you?
It's been good. I made a decision when I retired. I thought that I wasn't going to make any decisions for a while. I was just going to have a period of decompression. And that period is over, so
Yeah.
it's time to get on with life.
It's time to move on.
Yeah, I'm not somebody that can just sit still and sit on the couch.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Me
So,
too. I actually have the problem. I feel guilty when I'm like, I've been lazy today, But it's honestly good to have some days like that where you just really you take it easy because.
Yeah.
I mean, the mind's constantly working, 24/7. So to be able to kind of make it not work, whether that's watching some reality TV or taking a nap or doing a walk, whatever works for you. So I've been telling Troy I'm trying to get into walking more on a daily basis. So
Good for you.
I feel like it's just good for my mind, and of course it's good exercise. And
Oh yeah.
Well,
Troy.
if you want to really learn the value of it, you need to sign up and take a martial arts course,
I know.
and you'll learn the value of recuperation.
I know. So, I mean, Troy, what does it feel like when you first started competing professionally? Like, how sore did you feel after a fight?
Oh, I was sore. Sometimes I was sore for a week or two. Black eyes and cuts and broke hand.
Mm-hmm.
So that's in a nutshell. Some of the things that happened. Broke my hand. They said that my nose that it looks like my nose has been broken, but I don't know when my nose is broken.
Have you ever noticed it breathing through it a little differently or anything like
No,
that?
I can breathe through both sides.
Yeah.
So it's still good.
Hey,
It's
it
still
works,
good.
it works.
Yeah. And I was kicked in the sternum, so I had a cracked sternum.
Mm-hmm.
But that was trained for kickboxing fight. That wasn't for
Right.
just normal stuff that we do at the school. But in professional fighting, broke my ribs, my sternum, my hand, and I think that's all.
That's all? That's it? The long list?
Yeah.
So, Marion, can you tell us a little bit about how you met Troy and the building that we're in today?
Well, I know on some of your previous podcasts, he's explained this was a Western Auto
Yeah.
first, which I find kind of unique because for however many years they sold tools,
Yeah.
and then he bought it and taught tools.
That's true. Different kind of tool.
Yeah, one of your instructors, Mr. Sapp,
Yeah.
used to always say, "I've got a few tools in my bag too."
Yeah.
Very true.
So that's how I'm familiar with this building. But I live outside of town here, between here and Alvarado, about 10 miles from here, and so we were familiar when he was going through his fighting career.
Mm-hmm.
And I still remember to this day watching him on TV when he fought for the title. And one thing I haven't heard you mention in the past podcast, but I still remember to this day listening and thinking, he won that fight. Mr. Dorsey won that fight.
Are you talking about the Oscar De La Hoya one?
No, the
Pass.
Oh, is that the
Right.
controversial one?
yeah.
So it actually was briefly mentioned in the interview we had with Lester Bedford. He was talking about it like when Troy won that fight, and Troy's like, I didn't win that fight.
Right. But what I hadn't heard anybody mentioned was I remember the announcers talking about he may have outpointed him, Mr. Dorsey did, but because he was the contender and the other guy was the champion, it had to be a decisive victory.
Yep.
And they were talking while they were waiting on the judge's decision that it might not go the way we think it will because of that reason. And that's exactly what happened.
I know.
So that's how I first became familiar with him. So my son was in high school, and Michael came to us and expressed an interest in maybe taking martial arts. And for me, it was a no-brainer. Like, we got a guy with 8 world title belts right down the street. I didn't even go out and shop prices. I just walked in the back door and said, all right, sign this kid up.
Right.
And that's how he got started. But I remember a lot of times sitting where the parents sit. There was a window and the kids were working out on the mat and watching what was going on. And there was a lot of things that impressed me back then. Like, number one was this was a place that didn't have a shrine in one end of it, like a lot of them did. And that was important because my family wasn't going to train somewhere like that.
Right.
And number two, I remember watching when he would demonstrate stuff, and I didn't know anything about martial arts. We were what you might call a beltless family. Nobody had ever trained before. And he would demonstrate stuff, and I would think, that's perfect. perfectly level, perfectly straight. I thought, man, his technique is awesome. So that made an impression on me too. And Michael got to train until he graduated from high school. But to tell you a little bit about the training he got out and he was working with the new business we were starting. So he was trying to go to night school too. And of course, you're required to take a PE. And he's looking on there, and one of the courses is Taekwondo for PE.
Oh.
And like any good student, you see an easy A, you take it.
Right.
You know, so he signed up for Taekwondo, and he was over at the house one day, and I asked him, I said, how's class going? And he just kind of shook his head, and he goes, Dad, he goes, and he was a red belt, so he was still, what, a year and a half?
Away from black belt? Probably.
Away from black
Yes,
belt, depending on how often he came to class. He goes, Dad, he goes, my technique and my skill level is way ahead of my instructor.
Wow.
Yeah. And I thought, wow, this is black belt teaching the class. He's a red belt, a year and a half away from being a black belt. And he's like, if we sparred, I could take him.
I bet the teacher wouldn't want that happening.
No, and I'm not even going to say where he was going because of that. But, you know, to me, that made a big impression.
Right.
So fast forward a few years, I had a grandson who had just gotten out of the second grade, going into third. His mom expressed maybe an interest in putting him in martial arts. Again, it was a no-brainer where I was going to bring him. But about the same point in time, just to fast forward to my case, about 12 years ago, doctor walked in the doctor's office and told me, he says, you have pre-adult onset diabetes. And that just blew me over because I wasn't aware of anybody in my family. I knew it was a progressive disease, but I knew with exercise and diet, things would be okay.
Can control it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I bought a treadmill. And for 2 years, I was on that treadmill religiously.
Really?
But it got to the point I couldn't stand the sight of that thing.
It gets boring.
Oh, it was horrible. You know, 30 minutes was like 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just, and I told my wife about that time, I've got to find something else to do. And I'd always been interested in martial arts, so I thought, you know what? My grandson's getting ready to start. I'm going to start.
Oh.
So I came down and started, and I kid him about it to this day. But when I came in, I was 61 years old, and I want to take martial arts. He's go, and he said, "Well, maybe you ought to get in the kickboxing class."
Who said this, Troy?
Yeah.
He did, like trying to downsize me a little bit, like maybe you're not up to this. And
I was trying to help you. That's what I was trying to do. Try to get you ready for what we were about to do. I was just thinking of the best program for you, and that's what we do now. Kickboxing. That's what we did. Yeah.
It's it's non-contact. You work out on a bag, so there is the contact between your foot and your hands in the bag. But
Right.
anyway, I told him no, I want to go the other route. So he said, "All right, let me do it," and that's how we got started. And 4 years later, my grandson and I got our black belts together.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How old
Yeah.
was your grandson when he got his black belt?
He was 12 when he got his black belt.
Wow.
And it was quite an experience because
And how old were you how old were you when you got your black belt?
65,
So you started when you were 60?
61.
61, so 4 years.
But
yeah.
that was what I made part of the deal. I told myself, I thought, you know what? I need to train. I need to work out. I'm going to make that my 65th birthday gift to myself. So I turned 65 in March, and we tested for black belt. Test that year was in April, I think.
Wow.
And that was my birthday gift to myself.
Yeah.
But for me, it answered like a whole lot of deals. Once you start to age, there's really 3 concerns you have: muscle loss, balance, and flexibility. And martial arts, I was better toned, I had more balance, and I had more flexibility when I finished the course.
Right.
And still to this day, I can still change shoes without standing up and tie them and not reach over and touch anything. My balance is off the chart.
How many times did you go to class a week?
I went to class 3 times a week. Some people go more, but I figured at my age I needed a little time to
Right.
let my body
Usually
heal.
people go 2 or 3.
2 or 3, but I went 3
Yeah.
because I loved it.
He was, most of us would go twice a week,
Uh-huh.
but he wanted to go 3, so I was okay, you go 3.
And that's all the way through, but there's a window about 6 weeks before you test for black belt.
Right.
And during that 6 weeks window, the training intensifies. So I had to come 5 nights a week then with extra stuff you have to do. It was during that 6 weeks that I learned how much I absolutely hate burpees.
I don't think anyone likes burpees.
Well, I've run into people that do, and I'll shake their hand, I'll be their friend, but we'll never ever do burpees together.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen, but I learned then how much I hate burpees.
So I'm just curious, like, do you feel nervous right before your black belt test? Like, what does that feel like?
Well, at my age, yeah, I was nervous. Like, am I going to be able to do it? Because it can be.
He was the oldest one.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm probably the oldest black belt you've ever awarded, I would imagine. Maybe not.
We had Virgil Circle in Dallas. He got his black belt when he was 62, and he trained until he was 91.
Yeah, well, I was 65 when I got my black belt.
Okay, that might be the oldest one.
Yeah, so that was a little concern because it's not a 30-minute deal. It's several hours. At one point of it, you have to fight 3 people.
Oh, really?
At one time.
Is it just you, Troy, that's like testing him, or is there other people there as well?
We have other people that help
Okay.
test also, yes.
And they bring in other people so that the people you're fighting are always fresh.
That's nice.
They're resting,
You'll spar one guy for 4 or 5 minutes, and then they'll stop and change them out,
Right.
get somebody new. But one of my other grandsons was there came to watch. And I never will forget, I was the first guy to go out, and you picked 3, well, they weren't just black belts, they were 2nd and 3rd and 4th degree black belts.
Yeah.
And he goes, all right, you 3. And my grandson goes, asked his daddy, is he going to fight 3 guys? Yep.
Oh my, that I would be very nervous.
So I was nervous about that. I was so well trained, I wasn't worried about techniques, losing out on that. But I was worried a little bit about endurance.
Right.
Would I be able to make it?
That's such a great accomplishment, though.
Yeah. So that was the deal. But it is.
Nothing good as
Nothing worth having comes easy.
Okay, there you go.
And that's one thing I wanted my son and grandson to learn. Is that with Elijah, I used to pick him up. That's the 8-year-old. And from school and bring him to class on days he worked out. And I heard you talking about in an earlier podcast about the back door, people coming in the front and going out the back.
Right.
There was some discussion with Mr. Kerbin, was it?
Yes, sir.
About how a lot of times the parents they've got so much going on, they don't want to fight the battles.
Yeah, it's hard. It can be hard, so yes, sir.
But we had some battles where he would tell me, I'm not going today. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. And I'd tell him, well, you can go in your uniform or you can go in your street clothes, but you're going, And so it was a battle, but he was glad when he did it. And he's 17 now. He just graduated from high school. He graduated a semester early.
Congrats.
And just a month ago, he told me, he goes, I'm really glad I did that.
Wow.
And I thought,
That
wow.
means something.
Yeah.
Well, it does, because one thing I want them to learn is perseverance, sense of accomplishment. So many people quit, whether it's starting a business or going to school or whatever, marriage.
Yeah.
You got to learn perseverance. So many people quit right before they would have been successful.
Right.
There's been many a new business gone out of business a month, a year before they would have been realized their dreams. And I think that's part of what martial arts teaches is, you start out a white belt. You don't know anything.
You start from ground zero.
You know nothing. He won't even let you put on equipment and spar at that age because you don't know anything to spar with.
Yeah.
You have to learn some tools. And so you start out with nothing and see it through, and then, like for him, there was a sense of accomplishment looking back. And with my son and him both, I saw the impact it had on their life. I used to tell him, Elijah, all the time, because he graduated from 6th grade and got his black belt.
Wow.
And I used to tell him all the time, if you'll stick with it, you'll be able to walk into junior high black belt, and it will change your world.
Yeah. And it did.
And it did.
Yeah.
Gives a confidence.
Well, it gives them confidence and it gives them tools.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're going to try you.
Oh yeah.
Right.
They're going to try you. Bullies look for an easy target. And along that line too, that's one of the great things about martial arts. You learn with the intention of never having to use it.
Right.
Because if you think about bullies and you think about criminals, they're looking for easy victims. They're looking for somebody that looks weak. And if you have that confidence, you're walking with your head up, guy walks by you and looks dangerous and you look him in the eye like, really?
Yeah.
They're going to leave you alone.
Yeah.
Now, Troy, I do want to ask, can you tell our audience about getting your daughters to try martial arts and what happened with that?
Well, what happened with that is they trained. Well, they got their white belt, they got their gold belt, they got their orange belt. So it's been about 4 or 5 months, and then they, we talked to them about it. But it's just like anything else. But anyways, what they came with, they said, "Daddy, we don't like karate anymore. We want to do cheerleading." So of course, I told them they could do both, and they did. This is cheerleading, and they just let martial arts go.
Right.
So I hate to say that, but some people enjoy it, and some
Right.
people don't enjoy it. But a lot of people that don't even give it a try,
Mm-hmm.
I think would enjoy martial art training. Like you said, the benefits of the exercise and the flexibility and the focus and the coordination is a good thing that martial arts teaches and helps people to become more aware of what's going on and things like that. Their surroundings, I guess I should say, not what's going
Right.
on, but yeah.
But when you have Troy Dorsey as your dad, I feel like that's already another tool in your bag that a lot of people don't have. So,
Segue it off of what he said too. There's another deal about martial arts, and we're talking about the treadmill and the motivation to get on that treadmill. There's a motivation in martial arts to show up.
Yeah.
And when I was taking it, my mom and dad, I was 61 years old, weren't paying for my lessons.
right.
And the way it works is, in order to move to the next belt, you have to have so many what we call stripes. You have to pass so many stripe tests. In order to test for a stripe, you had to make so many classes per month. And if you don't hit the minimum number of classes, then you don't stripe test.
Right.
What that translated for me was I'm paying money to do the same thing over and
Yeah.
over again and not move forward. So there's a motivation of showing up to get your belts, to keep moving forward. Plus, it's the motivation of you're always learning something new.
It's fun. It's not like getting on the treadmill every single day.
Right.
I've seen some people, they set up their treadmill right in front of a wall, and I'm like, you're staring at a wall for 30 minutes. Like, I would be bored out of my mind. So that's why I love to walk outside. That never gets boring.
There were things like early on, what a gold belt, we start step behind side kick.
Right.
When we started, you start simple and you work up. So by the time you get to black belt, you're doing spinning kicks and stuff like that. But one of the first kicks was a simple step behind and a side kick. I had to go home and figure out the footwork. What works for me. These little kids are hopping around. I thought, no, I need to figure out the technique here. And it's amazing. One of the first kicks you learn is a back kick that he's famous for. And even 4 years later, I was still fine-tuning and learning something new about it, and learned a little more push off your foot, get you a little more backward motion and a little more power. And I found it interesting. You were talking to Ty Garrett, and he was talking about his punching and how dropping half an inch increased his power.
Right.
It's just you're always learning. Always learning something new.
Learning.
Yes.
I don't care if you're a 10th degree black belt.
Yeah,
it goes up that high, right?
Went out?
It goes up that high, right?
Oh, yes, it
10
does.
degrees.
Yeah.
I mean, you always are learning something new, and you can always learn from other people. So,
And it's a good sport too, because if you get kicked in the face a couple of times, you learn that's not your technique.
You learn real quick. So you definitely have messed up a few people with your famous.
Messed up.
I call it the turn kick. What is it normally?
Turn
hook kick or turn side kick?
You called it
She's
the
turned
back
it.
kick.
She's turned it. Well, that's for simple. Is the turn side kick.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your famous move.
Yeah, but I didn't kick students with that. I kicked people
Well,
that in the ring.
There's actually a video I found, an older video of Troy. You may still do it, but you would throw the, like the long floaties in the pool.
Oh, yeah.
You do that at the kids, and they would have to like fight back at it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Well, if a swing hand is supposed to block it, but
Yeah.
they jump, they duck, and a swing hand they jump.
I'm like, that's pretty creative.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Was there any other things you used to fake somebody had to defend themselves like that?
No, not other than somebody punching at them. You punch them, you let them know, and you get ready and say, okay, this is how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a safe, easy way to build people's reactions. So
Right.
swinging that, you won't hurt them,
Yeah.
but they know they got hit.
Right.
Yeah.
I do want to ask Marion, have you ever had the chance to spar Mr. Dorsey?
Light spar. Yeah, it wasn't like boxing. They're preparing for a max spar.
Who initiated?
He did.
Oh, really?
Because the way it works is you put your gear on and he pairs you up with somebody, and then you're on, you're off, and you don't get in there spar for 20 straight minutes. You pass out. Which sparring's a great exercise. I love sparring.
Right.
It was my
Yeah.
where I put my tools to work and see what worked and what didn't. But I don't know that I'd ever seen him spar with anybody before. But I'm standing off the off the center because it wasn't my turn. He walks up and goes, "Get him up." And I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute!" But I thought, I'm sparring 8-time world champion. Is anybody watching this? But it was, on so many different levels. It was that number one, and it's number two. I always, you talked about fighting guys bigger than you. Of course, I'm 6 foot. So, I'm trying to spar and do my best, but at the same time, I'm trying to learn. Like,
Right.
he's fighting a bigger guy. How's he doing this? Because little guys don't tend to pick on big guys.
It's true.
So if you're going to ever have to use it, it's probably going to be on a guy bigger than you. So not only am I sparring, but I'm trying to watch him. Like, how's he slipping this punch, and where's he stepping, and what's he coming back with?
It's so much you're trying to absorb
Yeah.
quickly.
So I'd like maybe throw a jab, and where'd he go, where'd he step, and what'd he hit me with? That type stuff, and learning as you go. So, yeah, it was.
Would that ever hurt you?
Oh, no.
No.
Which is a good deal for listeners that haven't ever done this. Sparring is all about control.
Right.
Yes, you do touch each other, but you don't touch each other hard.
Right.
So generally, when I was an upper belt, if I was sparring with people that were lower belts, you take it easy. You know what they know, so you work on what they know, and don't throw some jump spinning kick on them they've never seen before and knock them to the floor. But it's all easy stuff. And so the flip side of that too, if somebody's watching and says, "Well, I don't want to do that. I want to mix it up a little bit." Well,
We offer that too.
you offer that too. There was a guy that was 12 years younger than me. He was stronger than me. He started martial arts when he was in the military, and so he was good. And I trusted him. I knew that he could control what he was doing.
Right.
And he must have trusted me too. And Mr. Dorsey must have trusted both of us, because we'd amp it up.
Right.
We get pretty close to going almost full speed.
Was it fun?
It was.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
When he was really working on me, it wasn't so fun.
Right.
But I was learning too,
Right.
But we'd even have students in the class come up going, "You guys are way too intense."
They just aren't taking it serious.
But we never got hurt.
Right.
Because
each other.
Yeah,
Right.
we got tagged, but not hurt. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Sparring is probably one of the best workouts I've ever experienced.
And you have a headgear on, a mouthpiece, gloves, groin protector, all your shin guards, you're all protected.
Yeah,
So.
and I can tell you, when you're sparring, you're not thinking about work.
That's nice, actually. I think I need that.
Yeah, that's the last thing on your mind is outside of that ring or outside of that mat. It's just all focus right there. So yeah, that was my favorite part of class. I really enjoyed that.
I love that. And for my last question, Marion, I want to know, and I want our audience to know, what is the number one piece of advice you give to somebody who's 61, 51, 91, how to approach going into martial arts? Should they do it? What advice would you give them?
And I think, just to clear it up, I think you are the oldest one to earn a black belt, 65 years old.
Cool.
Can it be done?
Yeah.
And it can be done even older.
I thought we had a guy I thought was going to beat it.
Yeah.
And be over. I don't think he did though. But what advice would I give him? Number one, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Swallow your pride.
Yeah.
I was the oldest guy on the mat for a while, but once I was there, a lot of older guys, grown men started showing up. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite classes a lot of times was on Saturday. We would have a Saturday class, and of course, another thing I heard one of your other instructors do that's different with Mr. Dorsey is you have adult classes. Mm-hmm. Now, adult starts at 9th grade, so that's a little loose term, but you don't have little kids in there.
Right.
So it's adults, and that makes a huge difference.
Yes,
but one of my favorite classes was that Saturday class because generally it was all men that showed up. And it was a very, very different class. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we would do things and he would show us things like he couldn't show the kids because they might go home and try it on the little brother. And be a trip to the hospital. So he would show us stuff that he couldn't show the rest of the class. And it was a lot of fun. But yeah, swallow your pride and just do it. Just do it. But number one, find a good school that you can trust. And this is a guy you can trust,
Thank you.
And one thing about it, there's somewhat of a self-pace to it. So if you're doing conditioning drills and you're gassed, then just stop. He'll tell you that, stop. So you gradually build up your endurance, build up your conditioning and so forth, and they'll let you do that,
Go at your own pace. I guess it's kind of what you're saying. You go at your own pace.
Yeah.
It's not like, come on,
like I said,
we're going to push you, we're going to encourage you.
Like I said, I've had a gym membership before, and again, the motivation factor isn't there like it is in martial arts because, again, you're always learning. There's always that next belt. I got to get to class or I won't be able to test. And then you meet people there, and that's a lot of fun, meeting new people that you'd never otherwise meet. And I still run into some of them in different places like Sam's and Walmart and places like, hey,
And Troy, where is your new location now?
1848. Excuse me. I got the call from you now.
Yeah, I'm glad you got
You
it.
want to take a second?
1848 Lone Star Road, about 3 miles south here. And Suite 410 and 412 is where we're located now.
Perfect. Well, Marion, thank you so much for being a guest on today's show. It was very fun getting to interview you.
Can I tell the story behind that?
Yes.
I got a text, I guess from you. He was copying on it. And I thought, it was saying, would you be interested in being on the podcast? And I thought, well, they're looking for Mr. Dorsey.
No.
So I ignored it. And then you sent a second one. And I thought they didn't find him. They're still looking for him. So I ignored him again. And then he calls me up and goes, are you getting these texts? I'm like, yeah. But
And now it makes sense.
yeah, because everybody that's been on your podcast has been in the business for life.
Right.
Names, competitors, referees.
I think there's so much that we've learned in this interview, and it's very fun. It's been fun to hear your perspective on it. So
I can't wait till it drops because people are going to be like, who's this?
I know. Well, it's going to be January 5th, 2024, and everyone after this interview is going to know who Marion Forston is. So thank you so much for being a guest on today's show, and we'll be right back after the commercial break.
Sir, thank you, Mr. Forston.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Oh, wow. Wow. So many memories here. I'm on to a new place now. This is really unbelievable. So when we opened up, we had our martial arts classes over here. And we had our kickboxing classes over here. But this is a great memory. So many memories made here, so many black belts, about 400 black belts. during 1999 to 2022. I'm just now getting it, believe it or not. I've been in business for 41 years and with 2 karate schools, and I'm just now getting where I'm being able to get home a little earlier.
Welcome back, you guys. That was a fun interview to not only be a part of, but to watch again. So thank you, as always, for following our show, following along on the journey of telling Troy's story. There's so much to uncover with it. I mean, we've just peeled, I would say, even half a layer of an onion of what all there is to uncover. So it's been a really great honor and so much fun getting to do this project with Troy, getting to learn about him, getting to find the knowledge, even though it's very little, of being able to respect the sport, being able to honor it, being able to understand how amazing it is and was that Troy did and many other fighters still do today. So I couldn't do it, so I'm just here, you know, admiring the sport. So I'm just really glad I get to be a part of it through this show. But as always, we will be back again next week with another episode. So tune in for episode 7, and we will see you next time.